Good day, virtual learners. How are you today? I hope that you are all doing great. Welcome back to our week 4 for our fourth quarter in Cookery 10. I am Mrs. Shirley Lumberio from Karuhatan National High School, your live streaming teacher for today. Please make sure that you have your pen and module ready as we enjoy this day of learning. Our today's learning competency is to cook meat cuts. And our learning outcome is to identify appropriate cooking methods for meat. At the end of today's lesson, you will be able to, first, identify the two methods of cooking meat and give different examples. Second, compile pictures of their favorite meat dish. And third, appreciate the importance of knowing the two methods of cooking meat for appropriate meat dishes. Before we proceed to our new lesson, let us have a recap about the topic being discussed in our previous lesson. In this activity entitled Fact or Bluff, all you have to do is to read and analyze the statement very carefully. Type fact if the statement is correct, then bluff if it is not. Key in your answer on the comment box. You have 5 seconds to answer. Number 1, reuse marinades. Key in your answer for 5 seconds. If your answer is bluff, then you are correct. Next, use a reactive container like plastics. 5 seconds. And the correct answer is bluff. Next, number 3. Always refrigerate your meat while it's marinating. Key in your answer for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is fact. Number 4. Meat and poultry are generally marinated for 3 hours up to 5 days. For 5 seconds, key in your answer in the comment box. If your answer is bluff, then you are correct. Last number. Seafood and fish should be marinated for no longer than 1 hour. Key in your answer for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is, of course, fact. Good job, learners! Before we proceed to our discussion, let me check your prior understanding about the topic. Let's have this activity called ABCD. You need to read and analyze the statement very carefully. Choose the letter of the correct answer. You have 5 seconds to key in your answer at the comment box. Number 1. It involves submerging a food in hot liquid fat. Is it A, boiling, B, deep frying, C, grilling, or D, steaming? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. Time is up. If your answer is letter B, deep frying, you are correct. Next item. Cooking that uses hot, dry air to cook meat. Is it A, deep frying, B, grilling, C, roasting, or D, sautéing? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. Okay, if your answer is letter C, roasting, You are correct. Number 3. It is a moist heat cooking technique that employs hot steam to conduct the heat the food item. Is it A, boiling, B, roasting, C, sautéing, or D, steaming? Key in your answer at the comment box for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is letter D, steaming. Number 4. A cooking method that relies on heat being conducted through the air from an open flame. Is it A, deep frying, B, grilling, C, roasting, or D, sautéing? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is letter B, grilling. Number 5. A form of moist heat cooking in which keep the food just below boiling point when cooking or heating it. Is it A, grilling, B, roasting, C, sautéing, or D, simmering? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. Time is up. If your answer is letter D, simmering, then you are correct. Good job, learners! Moving on to our topic, it is all about methods of cooking meat. Using the appropriate cooking method for the type of food being prepared is a major part of culinary arts. When we say method, it is a procedure or process for accomplishing or approaching something. And the first method is dry heat cooking. It refers to any cooking technique where the heat is transferred to the food item without using any moisture. Dry heat cooking typically involves high heat with temperatures of 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 149 degrees Celsius or hotter. The browning of food, including the process by which meat is browned, called the Maillard reaction, which can only be achieved through dry heat cooking. What are the example methods of dry heat cooking? First, roasting and baking. Baking and roasting in an oven are a dry heat method because it uses hot air to conduct the heat. Like other dry heat cooking methods, roasting and baking brown the surface of the food, which in turn develops complex flavors and aromas. Both words describe a method of cooking an item by enveloping it in hot, dry air, generally inside an oven. Next is grilling and broiling. A dry heat cooking methods that rely on heat being conducted through the air from an open flame. Grilling cooks hot and fast because air is a poor conductor of heat. It requires the food to be quite close to the heat source, which in this case is likely to be an open flame. Another one is sautéing and pan frying. Sautéing is a form of dry heat cooking that uses a very hot pan and a small amount of fat to cook the food very quickly. In sautéing, it's important to heat the pan for a minute, then add a small amount of fat and let it get hot as well before adding the food to the pan. This hot fat helps brown the surface of the food. Another key is to avoid overloading or overcrowding the pan. Next is deep frying. Deep frying also refers to deep fat frying. It's a cooking method in which involves submerging food in hot liquid fat. It it might take some time to get used to the idea that it's actually a form of dry heat cooking. The aim of deep frying is to ensure that the inside of a food is cooked in the same length of time as the exterior requires to be brown. Let us now proceed to another method of cooking meat, the moist heat cooking. It is any technique that involves cooking with moisture, whether it's steam, water, stock, wine, or some other liquid. Cooking temperatures are much lower, anywhere from 140 degrees Fahrenheit to a maximum of 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees, because water doesn't get any hotter than that. What are the example methods of moist heat cooking? First is simmering. It keeps the food just below boiling when cooking or heating it. The cooking liquid is a bit hotter than poaching from 180 degrees Fahrenheit to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, we will see bubbles forming and gently rising to the surface of the water. But the water still is not at a full rolling boil, because it surrounds the food in water that maintains a more or less constant temperature. Simmering cooks food very evenly. Next is boiling. The hottest of these three stages is boiling, where the water reaches its highest possible temperature of 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. It's actually the least likely of the three to be used for cooking. That's because the violent agitation caused by the rolling boil can be too rough on food and will often damage it. Next is steaming, a moist heat cooking technique that employs hot steam to conduct the heat to the food item. Steaming can be done on a stovetop with a pot containing a small amount of liquid that is brought to a simmer. The item to be cooked is then placed in a basket suspended above the liquid and the pot covered. Next is braising and stewing, a form of moist heat cooking in which the item to be cooked is partially covered with liquid and then simmered slowly at a low temperature. Though it can be done on the stovetop, braising is best done in the oven because the heat fully surrounds the pot and causes the food to cook more evenly than if it were only heated from below. And that's the different methods of cooking meat. Now, let's find out how much you have learned today. In this activity, closely observe the GIF image and then identify if it's dry heat method or moist heat method. I'll give you 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. Are you ready, learners? All right, let's start. Number 1, roasting and baking. Is it dry heat method or moist heat method? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. The correct answer is dry heat method. Number 2, steaming. Key in your answer for 5 seconds. If your answer is moist heat method, then you are correct. Number 3, sautéing and pan frying. in your answer in the comment box for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is dry heat method. Number 4, simmering. 5 seconds. If your answer is moist heat method, you are correct. Number 5, grilling and broiling. Is it dry heat method or moist heat method? Time is up. And the correct answer is dry heat method. Well done, learners! I am glad that you learned a lot today. What integration values do you think we can incorporate into our today's topic? It is love and patience. Because a dish or any meal done in any type of cooking method can be a lovely way to connect friends, family, or anyone around the table. And now, I'd like you to complete the following phrases to explain what you have learned today. All you have to do is to complete these 3 phrases. I know, I will apply, and I realize. Let me share mine. I know the methods of cooking meat. I will apply the different methods of cooking meat. And I realize the importance of cooking methods of meat for appropriate meat dishes. Now, let me give you a short quiz about our lesson for today. All you have to do is to read each statement carefully and choose the correct words from the box. Type your answer on the comment section. Number 1. A dry heat cooking methods that rely on heat being conducted through the air from an open flame. Is it baking, pan frying, simmering, boiling, grilling, or stewing? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is grilling. Number 2. The aim of this method is to ensure that the inside of a food is cooked in the same length of time as the exterior requires to be brown. Is it baking, boiling, pan frying, grilling, simmering, or deep frying? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. Time is up. The correct answer is deep frying. Number 3. Keep the food just below boiling when cooking or heating it. Choose your answer on the box for 5 seconds. And the correct answer is simmering. Number 4. Dry heat cooking that uses a very hot pan and a small amount of fat to cook the food very quickly. Is it baking, boiling, pan frying, grilling, simmering, or stewing? Key in your answer for 5 seconds. If your answer is pan frying, then you are correct. Number 5. The hottest, where the water reaches its highest possible temperature of 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. Choose your answer on this box. And the correct answer is boiling. Perfect! Congratulations! You made it! If you have questions or an unclear part of our discussion today, please don't hesitate to ask your TLE teachers to clarify your concern during your follow-up discussion. Let us have your home activity. Collect and compile at least 5 pictures of your favorite meat dish. Paste it in your activity notebook. Use any decorating, coloring materials. Glue and identify the kind of method used in cooking the dish. Your score will be based in this rubric. Make your output as creative as you can. That would be our lesson for today. I hope you learned a lot. Let me share with you a beautiful quote from Malcolm X. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. I am Mrs. Shirley Lumberio. Have a good day and keep safe, everyone.